They built machines powerful enough to split atoms, map galaxies, even imitate human thought. And yet modern science still cannot answer the one question ancient mystics obsessed over. Why does the human soul feel empty even when the world is full? Thousands of years ago, mystics sat alone in caves, deserts, forests, and silence. No laboratories, no satellites, no technology. But somehow they spoke about consciousness, energy, emotional suffering, human illusion, and inner awakening with a depth that still unsettles scientists today. What if ancient wisdom wasn't primitive but protected? What if modern civilization became smarter about the outside world while growing completely blind to the inside one? Maya Angelou once hinted at a truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding, that human beings are starving, not for information, but for meaning. Because knowledge can fill the mind, while wisdom is the only thing that can heal a life. And maybe that's why so many people today feel disconnected, anxious, emotionally exhausted, even surrounded by endless convenience. Because ancient mystics understood something terrifying about human nature that modern society keeps distracting us from. Something about silence, about ego, about suffering, and about the hidden power sleeping inside ordinary people. The question is, what exactly did they know that we forgot? The most dangerous prison in human history was never built with iron bars. It was built inside the mind. And the terrifying part is most people don't even know they're trapped. Ancient mystics understood something modern civilization still struggles to accept. A human being can look successful on the outside while silently collapsing within. They believed the greatest battle was never against the world. It was against the noise inside your own consciousness. Long before psychology gave names to anxiety, emotional attachment, ego, and identity crisis, mystics were already warning humanity about the false self. The version of you created by fear, validation, comparison, and endless craving. A mask repeated so many times that people mistake it for who they truly are. Modern science can measure brain activity. It can track behavior. It can even predict patterns. But ancient mystics searched for something far deeper, the invisible force controlling those patterns in the first place. And maybe that's why people today feel mentally exhausted despite having more comfort than any generation before them. Because technology evolved faster than human awareness did. Maya Angelou once suggested that when people lose connection with their inner truth, they begin performing life instead of living it. And that performance slowly becomes emotional imprisonment. So the real question isn't whether ancient mystics knew more than modern scientists. The real question is this. What happens when humanity becomes powerful enough to control the world, but remains completely powerless against its own mind? Humanity has never had more information, yet people have never felt more emotionally lost. That contradiction should terrify us. We live in a time where answers exist for almost everything. A person can learn science, history, psychology, philosophy, even artificial intelligence with a few taps on a screen. But despite all this knowledge, anxiety rises. Loneliness spreads. Depression grows silently behind smiling faces. Ancient mystics would look at this world and immediately recognize the problem, because they believed information alone could never save a human being. To them, the mind was like an ocean. The more noise you pour into it, the harder it becomes to see clearly beneath the surface. Modern society trained people to constantly consume, but almost never to reflect. And slowly, people became mentally overloaded, yet spiritually empty. Maya Angelou understood this painful truth deeply. She knew there's a difference between being educated and being awakened. One fills your memory, the other transforms your soul. That's why so many people today know how to make money but don't know how to find peace. They know how to build careers but not identity. They know how to stay connected online while feeling disconnected from themselves. And maybe ancient mystics discovered something modern science still cannot fully measure. That the human spirit does not collapse from lack of knowledge. It collapses from carrying a life that no longer feels meaningful. But if meaning is disappearing from modern life, who or what is taking it away? The ancient mystics feared one thing more than pain. Noise. Not the noise of cities or machines, but the endless noise inside the human mind. The constant distraction. The endless stimulation. the inability to sit alone with your own thoughts for even a few minutes. And maybe that's why silence terrifies so many people today, because silence removes every escape. Ancient mystics would disappear into deserts, mountains, caves, and isolation, not because they hated the world, but because they understood something modern society ignores. A distracted mind can never truly understand itself. Today, people wake up and instantly reach for noise, notifications, videos, opinions, entertainment, endless scrolling. The modern world became terrified of stillness because stillness forces people to confront what they've been avoiding emotionally, their fears, their emptiness, their unresolved pain. Maya Angelou once implied that truth speaks quietly while fear demands constant distraction. And maybe that explains why so many people feel emotionally exhausted despite doing less physical labor than any generation before them. The mind was never designed to process endless stimulation without consequence. Ancient mystics knew that clarity is born in silence, that wisdom appears only when the inner storm settles. But modern culture profits from keeping people mentally scattered, emotionally reactive, and spiritually disconnected. So the frightening question becomes, if silence has the power to reveal who we truly are, why has the modern world become so desperate to keep us away from it? Modern civilization taught humanity how to extend life, but almost forgot how to understand it. That may be the greatest paradox of our time. We've built hospitals that can replace organs, machines that can predict disease, and systems capable of connecting billions of people instantly. Yet behind closed doors, millions silently battle anxiety, emotional numbness, loneliness, and a strange emptiness they cannot explain. Ancient mystics saw this kind of suffering differently. They believed pain was not always physical. Some wounds existed far deeper than the body could reveal. A person could appear healthy, successful, admired by society, and still feel spiritually broken inside. Modern science studies symptoms. Mystics searched for causes hidden beneath consciousness itself. They understood that human beings don't only suffer from hunger, illness, or survival. They suffer from disconnection. Disconnection from meaning, from purpose, from their own inner truth. Maya Angelou often spoke about the importance of knowing who you are beneath the performance demanded by the world. Because when people spend too long chasing approval, status, and external success, they slowly abandon the emotional core of who they truly are. And that abandonment creates a silent suffering no technology can cure. Maybe that's why so many people today feel emotionally exhausted while doing everything society told them would make them happy. The ancient mystics warned that a civilization obsessed with external progress could become spiritually empty without even realizing it. And if they were right, then what happens to humanity when the soul becomes the one thing nobody knows how to heal anymore? Ancient mystics warned humanity about the ego centuries before modern psychology even had a name for it. And perhaps that should disturb us more than it does, because the ego doesn't announce itself like a villain. It disguises itself as ambition, identity, pride, validation, success. It whispers quietly into the human mind until people begin building entire lives around a version of themselves that was never real to begin with. The mystics believed this false self was the root of endless suffering, not because ambition is evil, but because people become addicted to proving their worth to a world that never stops demanding more. More status, more attention, more comparison, more approval, and eventually, people lose the ability to hear their own inner voice beneath all the performance. Maya Angelou understood this deeply. She knew many people spend their entire lives trying to become who society will accept, while secretly abandoning who they truly are. And the painful part is the world often rewards that abandonment. Modern science can explain behavior patterns and emotional conditioning, but ancient mystics focused on something harder to measure: the invisible hunger inside the human ego that can never truly be satisfied. Because the ego survives on external validation, but the soul survives on truth. That's why some of the most admired people in the world still feel empty in private. They achieved everything their ego desired and still couldn't escape themselves. So maybe the ancient mystics discovered something terrifying, that the greatest illusion in human life is not the world around us, but the identity we spend our lives desperately protecting. The ancient mystics believed every human being carries a hidden power, but most people die without ever touching it. Not because the power isn't real, but because distraction is stronger than awareness. Modern society trains people to look outward from the moment they are born. Chase achievement, chase approval, chase security, chase status. And after years of running, many people wake up one day feeling strangely disconnected from themselves, as if they spent their entire lives building a person the world wanted while abandoning the person they were meant to become. Ancient mystics saw human potential differently. They believed true power had nothing to do with dominance, wealth, or intelligence alone. Real power was self-mastery, the ability to remain calm in chaos, focused in confusion, aware in a world designed to keep the mind asleep. That kind of power terrified people because it couldn't be controlled externally. Maya Angelou understood this inner awakening deeply. She knew the strongest individuals are often not the loudest or most admired. They are the people who understand themselves so clearly that fear, rejection, and public opinion no longer control their identity. And maybe that's the secret ancient mystics protected for centuries. A human being who truly understands their own mind becomes incredibly difficult to manipulate. Because once awareness awakens, illusions begin collapsing. The need for constant validation weakens. Fear loses authority. Emotional chains begin breaking silently from within. But here's the unsettling question. If every person carries this hidden inner power, why does the modern world seem designed to make people forget it exists? Some people spend their entire lives searching for success, when what they were truly starving for was meaning. And ancient mystics understood that before modern psychology ever existed. They believed the human soul cannot survive on achievement alone. You can accumulate wealth, status, attention, even admiration from millions, and still feel an emptiness so deep it follows you into silence. Because meaning is not something the world can hand to you. It's something you either discover within yourself or spend your whole life unconsciously searching for in everything else. Maya Angelou understood this painful truth with extraordinary clarity. She knew that people don't break only because of tragedy. Sometimes they break because they wake up one day realizing they built a life that no longer feels real to them. A career without purpose, relationships without depth, success without peace. And the frightening part is, society often celebrates people while they are quietly falling apart inside. Ancient mystics warned humanity about this centuries ago. They believed when people lose connection with meaning, they become spiritually vulnerable, easily manipulated, emotionally exhausted, constantly chasing distractions to escape the silent question growing inside them. Why does none of this feel enough? Modern science can explain chemical reactions in the brain. It can study behavior, emotions, trauma. But meaning, purpose, inner fulfillment, those remain mysteries no machine can fully measure. And maybe that's why ancient wisdom still refuses to disappear. Because deep down, humanity senses there is something missing from modern life that technology alone can never replace. But what if the thing we lost was the very thing that once made human beings truly alive? Maybe the greatest mistake of modern civilization was believing that intelligence alone could save humanity. We learned how to control nature, predict behavior, extend life, and build machines powerful enough to imitate human thought. But somewhere in the middle of all that progress, humanity quietly lost touch with itself. Ancient mystics may not have understood technology the way modern scientists do. But perhaps they understood something even more dangerous, the human mind, the ego, the loneliness hidden beneath achievement, the emotional emptiness that appears when people spend too long disconnected from meaning, silence, and truth. Maya Angelou understood that wisdom is not measured by how much information a person carries, but by how deeply they understand themselves. Because a person can conquer the world externally while remaining completely lost internally. And maybe that is the real warning ancient mystics left behind. that the future becomes terrifying when human knowledge expands faster than human awareness. Because without inner wisdom, power becomes destructive, success becomes hollow, and progress becomes a distraction from the questions people are most afraid to ask themselves in silence. Who am I beneath the performance? What truly gives life meaning? And what happens if humanity keeps evolving outwardly while spiritually collapsing within? Perhaps the ancient mystics were never trying to escape the world. Perhaps they were trying to save the human soul before the world became too loud to hear it.